Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Marketplace Risk Live event series. I'm Andrea, the Director of Events and Logistics here at Marketplace Risk. And today we welcome Carl Holshouser, SVP of TechNet. Our virtual events are designed to help marketplace and sharing economy startups successfully navigate complex risk management, trust and safety, compliance, and legal subject matter so they can avoid distractions in order to focus on launching and growing. Be sure to check out marketplacerisk.com to access hundreds of hours of content, including our master's program, platform podcasts, and previous webinars. And subscribe to our newsletter where we keep you up to date on everything, including the Marketplace Risk Management Conference in San Francisco and the Sharing Economy Global Summit in London. If you're interested in speaking at one of our events, please submit your ideas at marketplacerisk.com. The call for speakers closes on March 15th for the Marketplace Risk Management Conference and August 15th for the Sharing Economy Global Summit. Thank you for tuning into today's virtual session, United for Privacy, Ending the Privacy Patchwork. First, a couple of housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded, so the recording will be available for you to access on the Marketplace Risk website. Second, all attendees have listening capabilities only and are otherwise muted. And third, do submit your questions via the control panel. If we have time at the end, we will answer as many as we can. If we don't get to your questions, feel free to email us at info@marketplacerisk.com and we'll get your questions answered. And now, without further ado, I will hand things over to our presenter.
Well, it's so good to be here to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is federal privacy legislation. For any of you that have been following this, we've been talking about it for over a decade now, and Congress is elusive in its ability to get this done. I'm Carl Holshouser. I'm Senior Vice President of TechNet. TechNet is the national bipartisan association of technology CEOs and senior executives and their member companies. We have some of the most iconic brands on the planet, including some of you, but we are from startups that are in a garage or have just come out to some of the largest, most iconic brands on the planet like Google, Apple, Meta, etc. When thinking about the privacy debate, as Congress has worked to develop their priorities for the year, we haven't heard a lot about privacy. Previously, we've heard various senators and members of Congress work on bills that would create a national privacy law. These discussions actually go back to around 2000 when Al Gore was running for president and the internet was in its infancy, and we didn't have a lot of the iconic companies I just mentioned even in its existence yet. As the internet economy has grown, as we've had so much more data injected into our lives, there has been an appetite to regulate that in Washington, but never consensus on how exactly to do it. And that's led to inaction in Washington. Inaction in Washington often when it occurs leaves the states to act on their own, and that is exactly what's happened with privacy legislation. And I don't have to tell you, because you manage the risk of your companies, that there are a growing number of states that are passing their own privacy laws, and that over time is creating a patchwork of privacy laws. That it has a chilling effect on our economy. It makes it really difficult for compliance because in every state the laws are a little bit different. And just as an analogy about that from a business standpoint, there are currently 3 regimes that have been adopted, with California being the original one to have gone first. But from the consumer angle, if you are in where I live, which is Washington, D.C., and you're driving to Virginia, which is about 10 minutes away, or driving to Maryland, which is about 10 minutes away, as a consumer, you don't know what's how things have changed in which your data is regulated. You think that it's all the same thing, but it's really not, because Virginia's already adopted their own law. Maryland and DC might have a little bit different laws. So even though you're just changing borders very quickly with the same phone, accessing the same apps, what's happening with the data on the back end, you have no way to really know and understand and have control of what's happening if there's a big patchwork. Now on the compliance side, for you as a company, you look at this and think, how in the world are we going to have an open internet where we're selling products and services, we're running a marketplace where in each one of these jurisdictions as the patchwork takes hold, I've got to do something a little bit different to be in compliance with how am I protecting data. And that's why we're here to talk to you today about our effort called United for Privacy. So you see the logo in the background, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how it came to be, who's involved, and what we're trying to accomplish. So anyone who reads Politico or follows the DC beat knows that privacy legislation in 21 and 22 has all been declared dead. There has not been an appetite to get anything done. The president hasn't weighed in and said it was a priority. We haven't seen a markup or a hearing. My members of TechNet's 93 members rate privacy legislation as their #1 issue. They see the patchwork as a real risk to their business. It's adding to their compliance costs. It's adding to their legal costs. It's confusing. It makes it difficult for innovators inside their companies to create new products. So they're really looking to Washington to come out with a preemptive federal privacy law that will prevent this patchwork from being developed, which will make it difficult for you as a company and for consumers to understand their responsibilities and their rights. So we banded together with a handful of trade associations, including the Business Roundtable, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Advertisers National Association, quite a few tech trade associations like ITI, the Electronic Transactions Association, but also some interesting others like the auto industry. And we're all united for privacy because despite the fact that we might come at it from a little bit different angle, be it autos or payments, marketplace, I know you have some ride sharing, so from app-based ride sharing or on-demand services in the gig economy, you're really focused on what's happening with data, and you would like to see this uniform privacy law be developed. So working together with all of these trade associations, we have launched a campaign to change minds that we should do privacy legislation, and the time is now. We are working to demonstrate that that industry is broadly aligned with the idea that we need federal privacy legislation, that our sector by sector differences of many years ago are much diminished, that the water is above our head, and that we all are collectively united for privacy. About a month ago, we kicked this campaign off. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce had the first piece of it, which was they put out a letter, which you can find a copy of on my website at technet.org, that had over 80 local chambers of commerce and leading DC trade associations writing a letter to Congress and the administration asking them to focus on federal privacy legislation and to pass it. If you think about that as a distinction between a lobbying effort in DC and a grassroots effort, this is much more on the grassroots side, right? Local chambers of commerce care about their local businesses. They often have small and medium-sized businesses. So as they speak with one voice, they're really showcasing that this isn't just a Washington issue of big companies, trying to get something done that will make it more convenient for them. This is about the small guy in a small town. Let's take it like where I'm from, San Antonio, Texas, who's trying to innovate, create a new product, and is realizing that this patchwork is going to make it really difficult for them to go to market, and they're going to spend a lot more money on compliance and legal than they can on sales and development of an app and R&D, and they don't like that. So they're speaking up to their chambers, and their chambers are moving with this action. The chamber letter went to all members of Congress and the administration. It got quite a bit of coverage. About 2 weeks later, a trade association called the Information Technology Innovation Foundation, which is a 501c6 think tank that focuses on tech issues, released a white paper, which I hope you will all look at. It's also can be found on their website or on ours. And it outlines the economic impact of a patchwork across the 50 states. And over a 10-year period, it identifies that it will cost the economy $1 trillion, which a lot of is borne by small and medium-sized businesses in compliance costs in order to handle this growing patchwork. $1 trillion is certainly the kind of number that should get Congress's attention. And it's part of what we're trying to do with this campaign is make it local and bring in hard facts, that this isn't an opinion, this isn't just a regurgitation of the arguments of old. This is a national imperative that we need to act on now. As I visualize the campaign for the course of the spring, we're going to be doing a lot of activations. We're going to be having partners put out white papers. We're going to be doing webinars like this. We're meeting with Congress. And our goal is to convince the White House and the administration that we should elevate this debate and we should have a markup and we should pass privacy legislation now. In fact, it's interesting, I have a stat. This isn't just an issue that impacts our companies. Consumers widely agree. And in polling in 2021 done by Morning Consult, 81% of Republicans and 86% of Democrats said Congress should make privacy a top issue in 2021. And 3 out of 5 polled consumers say that the government needs to do more to regulate data at the federal level. And this broad bipartisan support mixed with our economic imperative of why we should do it because of the growing cost, as well as the consumer benefit for consumers to understand who owns my data, who regulates my data, who has control of it, and what recourse do I have if it's misused, are imperatives for all of our businesses. I'm going to stop, and by the way, while I continue, I'm going to ask you if you have questions to put them through. The moderator will alert me to them. But I'm going to play you a short video, which we have put out on our LinkedIn day before yesterday, which is another artifact of the campaign. And we're actually asking our partners to share this video. If you're interested in sharing it, if you'll reach out, we can get it to you so you can upload it to your LinkedIn, or you can share it off TechNet's LinkedIn or Twitter. And this is the case for why we want to do this. So I'm going to show that to you now. So thank you for watching that, and I hope that helps you underscore the case for why we're doing this. I have a personal belief that just because Politico says that we can't get something done, it doesn't mean that we can't get it done. It is a groundswell moment, a campaign for us all to get together to share this story. So thinking about how you can be involved, we're asking any company or any organization that cares about privacy to raise the issue now. We have a hashtag, which is hashtag United for Privacy, that we can amplify if you share anything, but you don't need to work through us. This campaign belongs to anyone that believes that privacy is necessary and that we should move this legislation now. I'll tell you a few stats about the compelling need for this. Since 2018, 34 states have passed or introduced 72 privacy bills. There are 3 which have been brought into law, just one of which, the California CCPA, has been amended like 12 times. And each time that it gets amended, it becomes more difficult for companies to comply with. In addition, the chilling costs that I brought forward here in big numbers, the $1 trillion over 10 years, let me unpack that for you a little bit. America's innovative startups and small businesses will pay at least $200 billion of that $1 trillion dealing with the patchwork of laws if we don't have one. If you think about the litigious minefield as well of some of the private right of actions, if you think about California, just this year since, in 21, since CCPA took effect, there have been over 200 lawsuits that have been brought against companies that don't reside in California, but somehow or another they're doing business in California. Perhaps their website was utilized for commerce by someone in California. Over 200 new lawsuits. So imagine you own a small business like a flower shop. I'll use San Antonio, Texas again. And someone ordered flowers off your website, commerce was created. All of a sudden, in come the lawyers, and they say that you're not in compliance with CCPA, and they want to fine you, they want to shut you down, they want to take over your business. This isn't an obtuse issue. These 200 lawsuits are out there, and they're leading to settlements. They're leading to businesses having to close. Back to the chilling effect on our economy. And these are hard facts. The cost of the litigious minefield will be borne quite a bit by companies outside of all the states that pass bills with private rights of action. And that complicates how do you innovate? How do you bring a product to market? What exactly do you need to spend money on? Is it all lawyers, or is it innovation and R&D to create products that sells? This leans it much more on, you have to have such a robust team of lawyers that it's really hard to get out of the garage if you're a small startup, because you're so heavily burdened with the crushing cliff of costs that come from this. The CCPA will affect more than 500,000 US companies. The vast majority of those are small and medium-sized businesses. Previously, the California AG's report said it was going to cost $55 billion a year. That number actually went up in the ITIF report that I hope you'll look to see. And GDPR has been out there for a while. We all know that, and I know there's been a rush to act. There's been a mimicking of some of the European regulation. The European model is very different than the US model and always has been. And I don't think that we should be taking cues from the EU on how we should regulate our data. Just as we did as industries developed with our healthcare system with HIPAA, with our banking laws with GLBA and other laws, there's a lot of precedence for Congress acting when a new industry has grown and consumers want to know what's going on with their data. When you think about how we all share our data and where we put it now, it's not all at our hospitals and at our banks. With our digital identities and the way that we have so much data on all over the internet that relates to us, our secure information that we would want protected is everywhere all over the internet. And that it delivers a federal mandate for why should we be putting forward a new law to protect data. Now, there are a lot of industries that have not had this type of oversight that probably are confused about that, but this helps businesses because they need the certainty with which to operate their businesses and to grow and innovate. I expect that the United for Privacy campaign will get the attention of the administration and Congress. And our ultimate goal is to showcase that a national consumer privacy law that regulates data, empowers the Federal Trade Commission to be the designated regulator for this, adds the resources they needed to take that on, and limits the private right of action and is preempting this state patchwork. That's the goal. We think we can get it done. We know that consumers support it. We know that businesses want it. So this is a call to action, and the reason why I wanted to come to talk to you today. This call to action means that we've pitched the tent here that the time is to act. We've created a framework which everyone who cares about this issue can be involved in. We're not being overly prescriptive in exactly what we want, but we are using this as a call to action campaign to share with lawmakers, particularly at the grassroots level, so they can hear what's happening back home, the urgent need for us to act on this. It's interesting. There's a lot of legislation going through the Judiciary Committee right now that's targeting tech. A lot of it's moving very quickly. And I look to that compared to that we've already had many markups on privacy in DC over the years. We all know, pretty much what we need to move that. Really want to encourage Congress to look over there because these bills have been vetted, they've been looked at by the light of day, and we all agree that we need to get something done for federal privacy legislation. So I'm going to slow down there. I'm going to ask the moderator if we have any questions that have come in. I don't need to keep you for the full hour if there are not a lot of questions. I think that you've learned what we're up to. But moderator, do we have any questions in the queue?
We don't. If you'd like to carry on, feel free to cover any other topics, or if you are finished with your presentation, just let me know.
So if there are no questions, we'll keep it short today. I can be contacted at cholshouser@technet.org. My contact information is also on our website. I invite you to go to endtheprivacypatchwork.com to learn more about this campaign. If you would like to get involved, please reach out to us or reach out to any of the other partners who are involved in this campaign so that you can show your support. But if you're looking for an action you can do today, if your company puts out a tweet, if you issue a press release, if someone in your company makes a phone call and talks about the urgent need for privacy legislation and references the United for Privacy campaign, you're doing exactly what we want you to do. There's no gatekeeper. You can talk about the angle that you most care about, but we're trying to elevate this discourse in Washington so that it gets focus and coverage, and lawmakers are hearing that we think it's an imperative. So I want to thank everyone for your time today, for joining me for this webinar, for learning more about federal privacy legislation and the United for Privacy campaign, and we look forward to staying close to you in the months ahead.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Carl, and thank you everyone for joining us today. As a quick reminder, check out marketplacerisk.com to access this recording, along with hundreds of hours of content, and to subscribe to our email newsletter to stay up to date on all events. Carl, thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope everyone has a great week.